Welcome back to Variant Qur'an. I'm Daniel Brubaker. In May of 2019, I published my book, Corrections in Early Qur'an Manuscripts, 20 Examples. About 6 months later, a review appeared in a scholarly journal. It was written by Hythem Sidky, a molecular engineer at University of Chicago. Hythem had informed me about a week before the review appeared that he had been asked to write it by some people, and that he had done so, and that it would be forthcoming. Sure enough, the review did appear in early December 2019, as I recall. The review began with various compliments to my book, but then it launched into a long list of critiques about my methodology and other things. One interesting thing about the review is that this was a 15-page review of a very, very small book of about 140 pages. And more unusual is the fact that my book is not a scholarly contribution at all, but rather an introduction for general readers. So the fact that Sidky considered the book worthy of writing a 15-page response to, and that the journal that published it out of the University of Chicago felt it worthy to dedicate 15 pages of their publication to my book, tells me something, and should tell you something about the perceived importance of what it was that I did. Be that as it may, I was not initially sure that I needed to write a response to the review. I did contact the journal and asked them if they would be willing to run a response to it, and they informed me that no, that it's not their policy to allow responses to book reviews. Initially, I wasn't sure if I needed to write a response to the review. For one thing, I didn't find the criticisms leveled at me in most of the review, the most critical things, to be accurately representing what I had said in the book in the first place. Over the following 6 to 8 months, only a relative few people actually seem to have noticed Sidky's review, but something obviously happened early last summer, and that was the start of my YouTube channel and all the things that we have witnessed unfolding this year. And what seems to have happened after I went on with my YouTube channel, a lot of people started paying attention to me, is that people who wished to find a reason to discredit my work suddenly discovered Hythem Sidky's review and began using it as the basis for a sharp criticism and a basis for dismissing me as a scholar. And so various people, I noticed, began to rely upon it. And so it was at that time that I realized I did need to respond to this. After all, it was a review published in a scholarly journal. My review response has now been published, and there's a link at the bottom of this video where you can go see it. 2 links, in fact. You can go and see it on academia.edu. I also am aware that not everybody has access to that. So if you don't, there's another link that you can go and download the PDF for yourself or read it online. And I hope that you will. I hope that everybody who watches this video will go take a look at that and see at least the general outlines of what it says. Now, I'm not going to go into the substance of it in this video or spend a lot of time unpacking it, although I do expect that I might do so in upcoming videos. But the main thing is to let you know that it's there and ask you to go take a look at it. It is a fairly strong response, and as you've seen in the past, I don't mean to harm anyone. I don't mean to harm Sidky. I wish him well in his academic career, but the strength of his dismissal of my book and my work did require a fairly firm response back. And I hope that you'll find it to be professional and not unfair, and I hope that he'll find it to be professional and not unfair. In fact, I did send it to him about a little bit more than a week before I put it up, in order to allow him the opportunity to let me know if I got anything wrong, if he thought there were any mistakes, or if I had misrepresented him or been unfair to him. He did not respond to me during that week time, has not responded to me yet, and so I assume that he found no problem with what I had written. Of course, that does not mean that it's necessarily the end of the conversation. There may be something that comes out. He may make a response later, and that is entirely up to him if he chooses to do so. These things sometimes take time to unpack, and they take time to go back and forth, and there may be some further back and forth, or this may be just the end of it. So he's issued a critique of my book, and I've issued a response, and maybe that'll just be it. Now, as some of you may know, or some of you may not know, what I have done in with my doctorate and in subsequent years to my doctorate is something that nobody else has ever done. It's not necessarily incredibly complex or difficult. It does have a certain degree of technical ability that's required to do it. And, so but nobody has ever done it. And so this is not to say that manuscript studies have not been done, or textual criticism. Even my own mentor, Keith Small, did good work, and other people before have done excellent work in critical studies of the Quran. But what I have done with cataloging and tracking down corrections in early Quran manuscripts is unique to me. Now, as I've said before, I can completely understand that these things are sensitive for many people, particularly for many Muslims, and there's a sense of wanting to respond back or backlash or something like that. And again, I'm not insensitive to the fact that is there. I understand also that everybody wants to engage with me and so forth. I've had many people reach out to me. I've seen a number of critiques out there that have been published, including one that was 300 pages. And I just want to let you know that, number one, I am intending to respond to those that are scholarly in nature. And so Sidky's review was published in a scholarly journal. With other things, I have yet to see anything that's really scholarly in nature. And quantity, number of pages is admirable, but that does not equate with being scholarly in tone or nature, or training or anything like that. And so I think in many ways it's unfortunate that I'm the first person to have done this, and by no means do I claim that I'm necessarily the most incredible person to have ever existed, or to be able to do something like this. And other people I'm sure could have done it much better, but the fact of the matter is that nobody else did do it, and I did. And so I'm trying to make these things available to you through these videos and through my publications. I hope you enjoy them. Now, I make mistakes from time to time. I don't dedicate my whole life to producing these videos. I try to do them at least once a week or once every couple of weeks, but I don't put the same level of review and effort into them that I would if I was publishing something in a scholarly journal or preparing something for a book chapter or a monograph. And so obviously we are human beings and we make mistakes. And I find it kind of interesting. I know that people have been criticizing, the pattern so far has been that people will find a mistake in my Arabic, and they'll make that blow that into a big thing. Of course, the details matter, and I've said that before. The details do matter. Grammar, Arabic grammar matters, and so particularly on the last video, I put forward something that sprung to my mind immediately that would have been very obvious to a native Arabic speaker, and that is the use of the present tense or imperfect verb after idha, and whereas the perfect would be the thing to use after that in the first person. And so the thing that sprung to my mind is not a probable reason for what was going on there, and that's fine. Actually, that aleph, you can tell, by the way, somebody asked the question, how can you tell what was erased? And typically the way that you can tell what was erased, or have a clue to what was erased, is by the shape of the erasure. People didn't erase a whole section. They would erase the letter itself. So you can see often the shape of the letter that was erased, and that was an upright letter. It was either an aleph or a lam. And, and that is, but, it is fine for people to go and criticize these things. I accept all valid criticisms. I don't deny that I'll make a mistake from time to time, as everybody does. But I think it's a little bit uncourteous to blow this out of such great proportion. I think if somebody was a non-native speaker of English and came and did academic studies in the United States, for example, I cannot imagine being so inhospitable to that person and rude to that person as to criticize them endlessly over an error of grammar or something like that. I think I might point it out in a professional way and then move on from that. And so the basis of my work has not until this point been the detailed analysis of these things. I try to give some detailed analysis or my initial ideas so that, as a starting point, but you will see in my academic publication, what, a more fully developed thing than that. But in the meantime, I would just ask you, I obviously don't have control over what people say out there and what people do, but for those of you who are generally good-mannered and kind people, I would just ask, treat me as you would treat anybody, with a certain degree of grace and kindness. And if you see a mistake, please do me the courtesy of letting me know about it. But I would ask people of goodwill to refrain from blowing things out of proper proportion to the big picture. And the big picture is really the manuscripts that I'm showing you, the fact that corrections exist in them, and the fact that some of those corrections are not probably due to scribal error, while some of the other ones are probably due to scribal error. And so I'm very open to the various possibilities for that. All right, so again, a lot of people have been contacting me and wanting to have interviews with me and debates with me and things like that. And I just want to make very clear, I'm not interested in doing debates. I'm not a debater. I'm not an apologist or a polemicist. I know that there are other people who are doing that, and I've been also clear that I have complete respect for that. I think there's a place for that mode of discussion, but it's just not me. That's not what I'm up to doing, and I cannot and don't have the time to address everybody who comes after me. I'm sorry for that, but in due course, I will be doing things, as I think is appropriate and in the sort of academic tone that I want to keep this stuff to. All right, so I just want to make that clear. I've answered Sidky because his review appeared in a scholarly journal, and this does not mean that I will not engage non-academics. Obviously, you know that people have been leaving comments in the bottom of the videos, and I've been trying to answer those, picking some of those, and I will be dealing more with those in future videos. I'll do some more Q&A because there's some very good questions that have been coming up in the comment section, and I want to be able to put those in front of you and deal with them. So thank you very much for those of you who have been very thoughtful in your comments, including those, who, maybe think I got something wrong or whatever. I thank you for doing that because I really do appreciate, the learning process. We are all in a process of learning in life, and, this is not the end of the journey, hopefully. This is a step along the way. And so thank you for being here along with me, and I appreciate you. I do want to let you know that this past week I was very happy to receive in the mail the book that I mentioned to you before, and it's a German volume out of from Inara. This book has my chapter in it, which deals with the insertions of Allah, and it also has a number of other chapters. It's nearly 900 pages in this book. So I'll put a link in the description box below if you'd like to look at that, as well as a link to my own book if you're interested in picking that up after having read the review, if you haven't gotten it yet. And I do thank you for supporting this channel, for watching, and appreciate you all. I hope you are doing well wherever you are in the world.